Have you ever felt that nagging sensation, that quiet whisper deep inside, questioning your path? We live in a world that relentlessly bombards us with images of what life should look like. Success is defined by career ladders and bank balances, happiness measured in possessions, and picture-perfect moments shared online. We juggle work, family, finances, social obligations, a constant whirlwind. But amidst all this doing, this striving, this existing, are we truly living? Are we honoring the unique melody that plays only in our own hearts? Or are we marching to the beat of someone else's drum? Think about those moments late at night or in the quiet of the early morning when the world's noise fades. Do you sometimes feel a longing for something more? Something different? A path less traveled? A life lived with more passion, more purpose, more authentic self-expression? It's a common human experience. This tension between our life and the life we sometimes dream of. This brings us to a powerful, evocative metaphor I want us to explore together today. Drawn from a literary classic, the metaphor of the moon and sixpence. Imagine the moon, ethereal, luminous, hanging high in the night sky. It represents our ideals, dreams, artistic impulses, spiritual longings, and the call towards a life of profound meaning and purpose, often intangible and seemingly out of reach. And then picture the sixpence, a small, solid coin you can hold in your hand, found down here on earth. It symbolizes the tangible realities of life: money, security, societal expectations, practical needs, day-to-day responsibilities, and the comfort of the familiar. The eternal question arises: do you spend your life looking upwards, captivated by the moon's glow, willing to chase its elusive light, even if the path is obscure and difficult? Or do you keep your gaze fixed downwards, diligently collecting the sixpences scattered at your feet, ensuring stability and comfort in the here and now, even if it means quieting that inner yearning for the moon? Hi everyone, welcome to BookSmart Insights, a channel for sharing knowledge for personal development through good books. It's not a simple binary choice. Life rarely presents us with such neat dichotomies. Yet, this tension, this pull between the ideal and the real, the spiritual and the material, the authentic and socially acceptable self, is a fundamental human struggle. And it's the central theme we'll be dissecting today through the lens of a truly unforgettable masterpiece by the brilliant English writer Somerset Maugham, his novel, The Moon and Sixpence. Now, Maugham was a fascinating figure, a trained doctor who became one of his time's most popular and financially successful writers. He was a master observer of human nature, often writing with a calm, detached, almost clinical eye, yet revealing profound psychological truths. The Moon and Sixpence, first published in 1919, remains startlingly relevant because it tackles timeless questions about the nature of genius, the price of freedom, the clash between convention and individual desire, and crucially, the overwhelming power of perception. Yes, perception. That often unexamined lens through which we view ourselves, others, and the world. Today, we will explore how our perception doesn't just color our experiences. It fundamentally determines our choices, shapes our priorities, defines our relationships, dictates our definition of happiness, and ultimately charts the course of our lives. It's the invisible architect of our reality. So I invite you now to settle in comfortably. Grab that cup of tea or coffee, find your favorite quiet spot, and embark on this exploration together. Let's unpack the story of Charles Strickland and see what his extraordinary, controversial life can teach us about the power of perception and the possibility of living a life free from the heavy weight of regret. Before we meet the enigmatic Charles Strickland, let's spend a little more time with this core metaphor, The Moon and the Sixpence. It's more than just ideals versus reality. The moon can represent anything that calls to us from beyond the realm of the purely practical. It's the pull of art, music, philosophy, spirituality. A desire for adventure, deep connection, and work feels like a vocation rather than just a job. It's the courage to live by one's own unconventional values. It often involves uncertainty, risk, and a degree of social isolation or misunderstanding. It demands introspection and a willingness to listen to that inner voice, even when it whispers. On the other hand, the sixpence represents the necessary structures and comforts of earthly existence. It's the roof over our heads, the food on our table, and the security of a steady income. It's fulfilling our responsibilities to family and society. It's the approval and understanding of our peers. It's the comfort of routine and predictability. There's nothing inherently wrong with the sixpence. We all need a certain amount to survive and function in the world. It provides grounding and stability and enables many other aspects of life. The problem arises not from the existence of the moon or the sixpence, but from their relationship in our lives. Do we become so focused on accumulating sixpence that we completely lose sight of the moon, letting our dreams gather dust? Do we become so mesmerized by the moon that we neglect the basic sixpences required to sustain ourselves and honor our commitments, potentially causing harm to ourselves and others? Or can we find a way to navigate this tension, to live with our feet firmly planted on the ground while keeping our eyes open to the beauty and mystery of the moon? This isn't just an artist's dilemma. Think about the entrepreneur who gives up a secure corporate job to pursue a risky startup idea, chasing the moon of innovation. Think about the parent who sacrifices career advancement, sixpence, to spend more time with their children, a different kind of moon. Connection. Think about the individual who chooses a lower-paying job aligned with their values over a high-paying one that feels soul-crushing. The moon and sixpence appear in countless forms throughout our lives. Somerset Maugham masterfully explores the most extreme end of this spectrum in The Moon and Sixpence, loosely inspired by the life of the real post-impressionist painter Paul Gauguin, who famously abandoned his career as a stockbroker and his family in Paris to pursue painting, eventually ending up in Tahiti. Maugham takes this real-life kernel and crafts the fictional, even more uncompromising character of Charles Strickland. Let's meet him. As the story begins, Charles Strickland epitomizes bourgeois respectability in Edwardian London. He's in his early 40s and a successful stockbroker. He provides well for his family. His wife, Amy, is socially adept and manages their comfortable household efficiently. They have 2 children. Outwardly, Strickland appears utterly conventional, unremarkable, even dull. He does his job, comes home, and interacts politely but without much warmth. There are few, if any, visible cracks in this facade of ordinary contentment. Maugham paints him as a man seemingly devoid of passion or strong opinions, a man you wouldn't look at twice. And then, the unthinkable happens. Without warning, without any apparent crisis, Strickland vanishes. He doesn't just leave, he obliterates his former life. He sends a cold, brief note to his wife from Paris, stating simply that he has left her for good and won't be returning. No elaborate explanation, no apologies, just a clean, brutal severing of ties. The initial assumption, naturally, is an affair. But the truth, when it emerges, is even more baffling and scandalous to their social circle. Strickland has abandoned everything. His wife of 17 years, his children, his career, his comfortable existence, to become a painter. A painter! At his age, with no training, it seems like sheer lunacy. Why did society react with such horror and condemnation? The violation of duty. He broke the sacred contract of marriage and fatherhood, abandoning his responsibilities without a backward glance. This was seen as profoundly selfish and immoral. The rejection of stability. He threw away a perfect, prosperous life for what? Poverty? Uncertainty? The pursuit of a seemingly hopeless artistic dream? This challenged the deeply ingrained value placed on security and material success. It was irrational. The threat of the unconventional. His actions were so far outside the bounds of expected behavior that they were deeply unsettling. If a seemingly normal man could do this, what did it say about the fragility of their own ordered lives? It was a mirror reflecting possibilities they dared not consider. The perceived foolishness. Starting a demanding artistic career at 40 with no background seemed absurd. It defied logic and prudence. He was throwing his life away on a whim, a midlife crisis gone terribly wrong. The narrator of the novel, a writer figure often seen as a stand-in for Maugham himself, is drawn into this domestic drama, initially tasked by Mrs. Strickland to go to Paris and persuade her husband to return. When the narrator confronts Strickland in his squalid Parisian attic, he finds a man utterly transformed, or perhaps a man whose true self has finally, violently broken free. Strickland is indifferent to his family's suffering, dismissive of societal judgment, and entirely consumed by a single, overwhelming force: the need to paint. When pressed about his obligations, he famously tells the narrator, "I tell you I don't want you. I tell you to go to hell." And regarding his artistic endeavor, "I've got to paint. I can't help myself." When a man falls into the water, it doesn't matter how he swims, well or badly. He's got to get out or drown. This statement is key. Painting for Strickland is not a hobby or career choice. It's a primal urge, an existential necessity. In his perception, his previous life, the life everyone else saw as successful and desirable, was the equivalent of drowning. Painting is his desperate gasp for air, his only way to truly live. It's a force beyond reason, beyond morality as conventionally understood. It's his moon, eclipsing everything else. He plunges into a life of extreme hardship. He paints obsessively, living in poverty, often going hungry, taking menial jobs only when necessary to buy more supplies. He is crude, frequently cruel, utterly self-absorbed, seemingly devoid of normal human empathy. He uses people and discards them when they no longer serve his purpose. The purpose of facilitating his art. He doesn't care if his paintings are liked or understood. He paints because he must. Depending on your perspective, he is driven by an internal demon or muse. This raises profound questions. Is genius inherently linked to such obsessive, potentially destructive behavior? Does the pursuit of a great passion justify abandoning all other responsibilities? Is Strickland a monstrous egoist or a tragic figure enslaved by a talent he cannot control? Or is he, perhaps, in his own brutal way, living a more authentic life than those trapped in quiet desperation within the confines of convention? Maugham doesn't offer easy answers. He presents Strickland in all his complexity, forcing readers and listeners to grapple with our own perceptions of art, morality, and the meaning of a well-lived life. Let's shift our focus back to the idea that perception determines our priorities. Strickland's perception led him to prioritize art above all else. What about his wife, Amy Strickland? How did her perception shape her priorities after the devastation of being abandoned? Imagine her situation. Her husband, the provider and cornerstone of her socially respectable life, disappears, leaving her not only heartbroken, but also profoundly shamed in the eyes of their society. The reason? Becoming a penniless artist adds insult to injury. Her entire world, built on the foundations of stability, reputation, and marital partnership, crumbles. What does she do? Does she pine away? Does she become a victim? No. After the initial shock and despair, a different aspect of her perception takes over. The paramount importance of self-reliance, resilience, and social standing. Her upbringing, her values, and her understanding of how the world works all dictated that dependency was undesirable and loss of face was a critical blow. Her priority became not chasing after Strickland or understanding his bizarre artistic drive, but salvaging her life and her children's future, according to her definition of what mattered. So she acts with remarkable pragmatism and determination. She learns a practical skill, typing, to earn a living. She makes difficult financial decisions, downsizing her home and selling possessions. She focuses on providing for her children and ensuring they receive a good education, enabling them to maintain or regain their social position. She works tirelessly, driven by her perceived need for independence and respectability, and she succeeds on her own terms. Years later, the narrator re-encounters her. She has rebuilt her life. Her children are grown and successful. She has financial security, has quit her typing job, and has skillfully navigated her way back into the social circles she values. She has achieved her goals, born directly from her perception of what constitutes a worthy and successful life. Is her life less valuable or meaningful than Strickland's obsessive artistic pursuit? Absolutely not. It's simply different. Her perception prioritized security, responsibility, and social grace, perhaps her form of sixpence, but pursued with tenacity, resulting in a tangible, respectable outcome. Strickland perceived his moon, art, as the only thing worth living for, accepting squalor and isolation as the price. Mrs. Strickland perceived her moon, perhaps dignity, resilience, maternal duty, and built a solid foundation of sixpence to support it. Their paths diverged dramatically because their fundamental perceptions of life's purpose were irreconcilable. This highlights a crucial point. Judging others' priorities based on our perception is often futile and unfair. What seems essential to one person might be utterly insignificant to another. The key isn't whether someone chooses the moon or the sixpence according to our definition, but whether their choices align with their own deeply held perceptions and bring them a sense of inner coherence, even amidst external challenges. As the philosopher Epictetus suggested centuries ago, it's not things themselves that trouble us, but our judgments about things. Mrs. Strickland eventually likely found a measure of peace, not by understanding Strickland, but by living fully according to her own judgments and values. Perception doesn't just shape our priorities, it fundamentally dictates how we treat others and navigate the complex web of human relationships. This is vividly and often tragically illustrated through the interactions involving Strickland, the kind-hearted but mediocre painter Dirk Stroeve, and Dirk's wife, Blanche. Dirk Stroeve is one of the novel's most fascinating and paradoxical characters. By general consensus and his own admission, he is a bad painter. His works are sentimental and derivative, lacking the spark of true originality. Yet, paradoxically, he possesses an almost infallible eye for genuine artistic genius in others. He is clumsy, somewhat comical in appearance, often overly emotional and effusive. But beneath the surface lies a profoundly kind, generous, and forgiving soul. He is the first, and for a long time, the only person to recognize the raw, brutal power in Strickland's unconventional paintings, championing them passionately, even when everyone else dismisses them. Stroeve's perception values artistic genius and human connection, particularly his love for his wife, above almost everything else. His kindness seems boundless. When Strickland falls dangerously ill in Paris, destitute and alone, it is Stroeve who insists on bringing him into his own home to nurse him back to health. He does this despite Strickland's previous indifference or contempt towards him and, crucially, against his wife Blanche's strong instincts and explicit objections. Blanche senses danger in Strickland, a primitive, unsettling quality. Stroeve's act of compassion, born from his generous perception and artistic admiration, tragically sets the stage for disaster. Confined in close quarters, Blanche, initially repulsed by Strickland, finds herself inexplicably drawn to his raw masculinity, silent intensity, and complete indifference to convention. A stark contrast to her gentle, perhaps slightly suffocating adoration for Dirk. It's a fatal attraction that combines different perceptions of strength and desire. She falls desperately in love with Strickland and intends to leave Dirk for him. Imagine Dirk Stroeve's position. He is utterly heartbroken. He adores Blanche, yet his perception includes a profound, almost self-sacrificial reverence for love, even unrequited, and artistic talent. He decides to step aside in a move that seems incredibly noble and pathologically self-effacing. He literally gives Blanche and Strickland his home and his studio, hoping against hope that they might find happiness and that Strickland's genius, now potentially stabilized by Blanche's care, might flourish. He prioritizes what he perceives as their potential happiness and the nurturing of great art over his own devastating pain. Was this immense kindness or a failure to protect himself and recognize the destructive forces at play? His perception led him down this path. Of course, the liaison is doomed from the start. Strickland's perception of relationships is purely utilitarian, especially regarding his art. He needed Blanche when he was ill. He perhaps found temporary physical solace. But the kind of enduring romantic love and emotional dependency Blanche craves is utterly alien to him. A distraction, a sixpence interfering with his pursuit of the moon. His perception is entirely focused inward, on the relentless drive to paint. He needs solitude and freedom. So, with the same chilling indifference he showed his first wife, he tires of Blanche and abandons her. Blanche's perception was tragically flawed. She projected onto Strickland qualities he didn't possess, mistaking his raw power for a depth of feeling that could match her intense passion. Her entire world, built on this misperception, collapses when faced with his cold rejection. Unable to return to Dirk, unable to live without Strickland, she sees no way out and takes her own life. And Stroeve? Even after this ultimate tragedy, fueled indirectly by his kindness, his perception remains remarkably consistent. He grieves deeply for Blanche, yet his admiration for Strickland's art seems untarnished by the man's monstrous behavior. He even later offers Strickland further help, which is refused. Stroeve remains, to the end, a figure of profound kindness, artistic sensitivity, and perhaps a tragic naivety shaped by his fundamentally sound, if maybe overly trusting, perception of the world and the tortured artist. This devastating triangle starkly illustrates how differing, often uncommunicated perceptions about love, art, responsibility, and human connection can lead to immense suffering. Strickland perceived art as supreme. Blanche perceived romantic passion as supreme. Stroeve perceived kindness and artistic genius as supreme. none could genuinely comprehend the perceptual worlds of the others, leading to inevitable collision and heartbreak. It serves as a potent reminder to strive for empathy and understand the perceptions driving others' behaviors, even when those behaviors seem baffling or hurtful. We've journeyed through the tumultuous lives of Strickland, his wife, Stroeve, and Blanche. We've seen how their perceptions dictated their priorities and interactions, leading them down vastly different, often painful paths. Now, let's zoom out and delve even deeper into the core theme. Perception is the architect of our reality. Remember the quote from the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer: "The greatest prison in the world is human perception." This is such a profound statement. It suggests that our limitations and unhappiness often stem not from external circumstances, but from how we interpret and frame those circumstances through our perceptual lens. Think about it. Two people can experience the same event, a job loss, a relationship breakup, a critical remark, and react differently. One might see it as a devastating failure, confirmation of their inadequacy, the end of the world. Their perception creates a reality of despair. Another might perceive the same event as a setback, yes, but also as an opportunity for growth, a chance to redirect their life, a lesson learned. Their perception creates a reality of resilience and possibility. The external event is the same. The internal reality, shaped by perception, is radically different. Our perception acts like a filter. It's influenced by our upbringing, culture, past experiences, beliefs, values, fears, and even mood at any given moment. We often fall prey to cognitive biases, like confirmation bias, where we selectively notice information that confirms our existing beliefs, ignoring evidence to the contrary. We build mental models of how the world works, and then we tend to interpret everything through those models. If your model says the world is hostile, you'll likely perceive hostility even in neutral interactions. If your model says I'm not good enough, you'll filter experiences through that lens, magnifying flaws and discounting achievements. Our perception constructs the narrative of our lives. This directly impacts our happiness. Psychologists often distinguish between two types of happiness: hedonic happiness, based on pleasure, comfort, and positive emotions, and eudaimonic happiness, derived from meaning, purpose, growth, and living by one's values. Strickland, despite his squalor and suffering, might have experienced moments of intense eudaimonic happiness, perhaps even flow, as described by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi while immersed in his painting. A state of complete absorption where self-consciousness disappears, driven by intrinsic motivation. He wasn't seeking pleasure, hedonism. He was driven by a powerful sense of purpose, however destructive its side effects. Mrs. Strickland, conversely, might have found more hedonic comfort in her rebuilt, respectable life, but also a eudaimonic sense of accomplishment in fulfilling her perceived duties and demonstrating resilience. Stroeve likely found eudaimonic meaning in kindness and appreciating art, though it brought him considerable hedonic pain. Happiness, therefore, isn't a one-size-fits-all destination. It's deeply intertwined with what our perception tells us is meaningful and worthwhile. Similarly, our perception defines success. Is success climbing the corporate ladder, accumulating wealth, and gaining fame? That's the dominant societal narrative, the Sixpence definition. Or is success living authentically, contributing something unique to the world, even if unrecognized, like Strickland's early paintings, maintaining strong relationships, achieving inner peace, and mastering a skill for its own sake? The Moon and Sixpence powerfully challenges us to question conventional metrics and define success on our own terms, guided by our internal compass, our perception of what truly matters. History is filled with figures. Artists like Van Gogh, selling only one painting in his lifetime. Scientists like Gregor Mendel, whose groundbreaking work on genetics was ignored for decades. And thinkers like Thoreau, who were failures by contemporary standards, but whose work, driven by their unique perception and inner conviction, ultimately had a profound impact. Their moon shone brightly, even if the world only saw darkness or smoke at the time. The exciting implication is that if perception shapes our reality, we can change our reality by consciously shifting our perception. This isn't about denying difficulties or engaging in toxic positivity. It's about cultivating awareness of our own perceptual filters and biases. Practices like mindfulness can help us observe our thoughts and interpretations without automatically buying into them. Cognitive reframing techniques allow us to consciously look for alternative ways to interpret challenging situations. Exposing ourselves to new ideas, diverse perspectives, and different cultures through travel, conversations, and reading books like the ones we discuss here on BookSmart Insights can expand our perceptual horizons, revealing possibilities we hadn't considered before. We can learn to challenge the prison Schopenhauer spoke of and potentially redesign our inner architecture. So we arrive at the crucial question: armed with this understanding of perception's power, how do we live a life with fewer regrets? How do we navigate the complex dance between the moon and the sixpence in our own lives? The Moon and Sixpence offers profound food for thought while not providing prescriptive answers. Let's synthesize some key takeaways for our own journeys. Embrace radical authenticity, or listen to your moon. This is the central, albeit challenging message inspired by Strickland. Authenticity means living in alignment with your true self, your values, your passions, your unique way of being in the world, rather than conforming to external pressures or wearing a mask to please others. It requires deep self-awareness. What truly energizes you? What makes you feel most alive? What are your non-negotiable values? What is the music that only you can hear? It takes courage to identify this inner truth and even more courage to live it, especially when it goes against the grain. Researcher Brené Brown speaks extensively about the courage of vulnerability, the willingness to show up and be seen, even when we can't control the outcome. Living authentically often involves vulnerability, risking disapproval or misunderstanding, but the potential reward is immense. A life imbued with meaning, integrity, and a deep sense of rightness. Strickland's path was extreme, but the underlying principle, honoring the imperative from within, holds value for all of us, perhaps applied with more compassion and balance. 2. Cultivate empathy by respecting diverse perceptions. If our perception shapes our reality, we must accept that others inhabit realities shaped by their perceptions, which may differ vastly from our own. Judging others' choices, motivations, or definitions of happiness through our limited lens breeds misunderstanding, conflict, and unnecessary suffering. Strive to understand why someone might see the world differently. What experiences, values, or fears might be shaping their perception. This doesn't mean agreeing with them or condoning harmful behavior. Still, it does mean approaching differences with curiosity rather than judgment. Remembering Mrs. Strickland's resilience, Stroeve's kindness, and even Strickland's consuming drive, seeing them as outcomes of distinct perceptual worlds, fosters empathy. This respect for diverse paths enriches our understanding of the vast tapestry of human experience and allows for more harmonious coexistence. It's the practical application of Kant's respect for the independent soul. 3. Define your own success and happiness. Internal validation. Actively resist the urge to measure your life against external, often materialistic benchmarks. Success isn't solely about wealth, status, or accolades. Happiness isn't just about fleeting pleasures. Reflect on what indeed constitutes a successful and happy life for you. Is it deep relationships, creative expression, contribution to a cause, personal growth, inner peace? It could be a unique combination. Once you have your definition grounded in your perception, use it as your North Star. Seek internal validation, the feeling of living in alignment with your values, rather than constantly chasing external approval. The sixpence of social validation. Remember Van Gogh's fire. Everyone has a fire in their heart. Others only see smoke. Live for your fire, tend to it, and let it warm you, regardless of whether others understand or only see the smoke. Their perception of the smoke doesn't change the reality of your fire. 4. Consciously navigate the balance, the moon and the sixpence. While Strickland represents an extreme choice, most of us must find a way to integrate the demands of reality. Sixpence, with the call of our souls, the moon. This isn't about achieving a perfect, static equilibrium, but engaging in a continuous, dynamic balancing act. It requires conscious choices. How much sixpence, security, income, are you willing to trade for more moon, time for passion projects, creative work, family? How can you bring more moon, meaning, purpose, joy, into your daily sixpence activities, your job, your routines? Ask yourself regularly, is my pursuit of security stifling my growth? Is my pursuit of passion leading to irresponsible neglect of essential needs or relationships? This ongoing reflection, guided by your evolving perception, helps you adjust your course, ensuring you don't lose sight of the sky while navigating the earth, or vice versa. It's about integrating, not necessarily choosing one over the other entirely. 5. Practice self-compassion on the journey. Living authentically, navigating complex choices, and shifting perceptions is difficult. You will stumble. You will make mistakes. You might realize your perception was flawed, or your choices had unintended negative consequences. It's crucial to approach yourself with the compassion you might offer a dear friend. Acknowledge missteps without harsh self-judgment. See them as learning opportunities, part of the messy, beautiful process of being human and striving to live better. Forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Self-compassion fuels resilience and allows you to get back up and continue the journey with renewed wisdom. And so, dear listeners, our deep dive into the moon and sixpence and the profound influence of perception comes towards its close. Maugham didn't write a self-help book. He wrote a powerful novel that mirrors the complexities of human nature, ambition, and the often conflicting desires within us. It doesn't give us easy answers, but asks vital questions. The ultimate takeaway isn't necessarily to emulate Strickland's ruthless single-mindedness, Stroeve's extreme selflessness, or Mrs. Strickland's conventional resilience. It's to recognize the immense, often underestimated, power of our own perception in shaping the life we experience. Are you living from a perception that empowers you, aligns with your deepest values, and allows you to see possibilities even in challenges? Or are you confined within a perceptual prison built from fear, limiting beliefs, or societal conditioning? The choice between the moon and the sixpence may not always be stark. Still, the choice to become aware of our perception, question it, refine it, and consciously use it to guide our lives is always available. It's the key to unlocking a life with greater intention, meaning, and fewer regrets. May you have the courage to identify your own moon, the wisdom to gather the necessary sixpence with integrity, and the insight to perceive your unique path with clarity and compassion. Thank you for joining me on this extended exploration today with BookSmart Insights. It's been a pleasure sharing these thoughts and diving into this incredible book with you. These reflections on perception and our choices have resonated with you and perhaps sparked some valuable insights for your life's journey. If you found this discussion meaningful, please share it with others who might also appreciate it. A conversation sparked, and a new perspective was gained. That's the magic we hope to create here. And of course, if you haven't already, I would be so grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button for the BookSmart Insights channel on YouTube. Please also consider leaving a like or comment. Your feedback and engagement mean the world and truly help the channel grow and reach more people seeking to learn and develop through the wisdom of books. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss our next deep dive. Again, thank you for your time, attention, and support. Until next time, keep reading, reflecting, and striving to live a life illuminated by both the steady light of the moon and the grounded reality of the earth. Take good care, and goodbye for now.